The Galactic Council's marble spires rose above the clouds of Karath Prime, a symbol of millennia of civilized diplomacy. Inside its endless halls, dozens of species debated trade routes, feuds, and what to do with the unruly primitives on the spiral's edge. Humans. For centuries, Earth was a wild card. Strong, clever, chaotic. Other species used them when wars got too bloody or when work got too dangerous for polite citizens. But never in all that time did anyone invite them to the inner chambers of galactic power. Until now, a trade war had erupted, and worse than any in living memory, the Harel Syndicate's smuggling cartels were gutting the Valkor's fuel routes. Small border skirmishes grew into orbital battles. Refugees flooded neutral planets. The Council, in their golden seats, wrung their delicate hands and whispered for peacekeepers. When no solution appeared, some bright fool suggested, why not talk to Earth? They understand force. Perhaps they can be civilized enough to mediate. And so an invitation was sent, more out of desperation than respect. A formal request. Send your best diplomats. Send your negotiators. Send your finest example of humanity's maturity. Weeks passed. A diplomatic port was cleared at the Council Citadel. Security doubled, then tripled. Ambassadors rehearsed polite greetings. Translators polished human language subroutines. When the human ship arrived, many counselors gathered at the viewing decks, expecting a military escort, maybe a flashy dreadnought with primitive paint and national flags. Instead, a single shuttle glided through the station's defense grid, black as the void. No markings, no escorts. It docked with a whisper, not a roar. The airlock hissed, and silence spread like wildfire through the observation halls. 3 humans emerged. Not armored Marines, not tribal envoys, not smiling, media-friendly figureheads. 3 people in immaculate black suits, tailored to perfection, their only decoration, a silver tie pin, shaped like a predatory bird's talon. They stepped onto council ground without bowing, without cameras. Their eyes, cold, sharp, impossibly focused, scanned the crowds like they were weighing each alien for weaknesses. The leader, tall, dark-skinned, hair clipped with military precision, nodded once. No smile, no handshake, just a calm, quiet certainty. We're ready to begin. In that instant, every species present realized something their ancestors had forgotten. Humans don't send lambs to slaughter. They send wolves, dressed to kill. And the Council's centuries of polite politics were about to collide with a predator's version of diplomacy. Council Chamber Theta was older than many of the species seated within it. Its domed ceiling shimmered with a live projection of distant stars, meant to remind everyone of the fragile unity that bound the galaxy together. Today, that unity felt like a cracked hull. And into that breach stepped 3 humans in tailored suits. No weapons visible, no retinue, no translation drones buzzing around them. Just a calm, unsettling silence that made the Valkor war chieftains shuffle uncomfortably in their battle cloaks. High Speaker Lurin of the Council cleared her throat, the sound echoing in the hush. Her gills fluttered nervously. Representatives of Earth, we welcome your presence. We trust you come with open hearts to soothe the flames between the tallest human, the one who had first spoken at the dock, raised a single-gloved hand. He didn't bow. He didn't smile. He simply said, "We came to end it, not soothe it." A ripple ran through the delegates, indignant clicks from insectoid nobles, offended growls from the Hrel syndicate barons, a few whispered translations into personal comms, hoping they'd misheard, but the human's voice was perfect galactic standard. Each word a precise blade. The second human, a woman with silver hair tied back like a soldier on parade, unrolled a sleek black tablet. Her eyes flicked from species to species, as if reading each threat level. Your navies have bled each other dry. Your trade routes are ash. Your merchant guilds fund pirates, then pay ransoms to themselves. Meanwhile, refugees starve on frozen moons because this council can't enforce a single treaty. She let that hang there, ice in her tone. Then she smiled, and a small unsettling thing that made a Vakor general grip the hilt of his ceremonial blade. Earth will clean this up. You will authorize us to do so. Someone laughed. A hoarse bark from a Hrel baron whose scales glittered with gold. You? Your homeworld's gravity well can barely lift you to orbit without chemical rockets. What do you threaten us with, human? Sharp words and empty threats? The third human stepped forward. He was the smallest of the trio, broad-shouldered but younger, yet his eyes were ancient compared to his face. He leaned forward, voice low enough that the audio relays strained to amplify it. We don't threaten. We promise. A low hum vibrated through the chamber. The council's security grid flickered. In orbit, the sensors pinged an anomaly. A stealth drone the size of a battleship, drifting just outside the planetary defense perimeter. No IFF, no known drive signature. It sent a single ping. Active. Back in the chamber, the young human straightened his suit jacket with surgical calm. You can accept Earth's help now, or you can watch every pirate stronghold in this sector vanish before dawn. Choose. This wasn't diplomacy. It was the edge of a knife pressed to the council's collective throat, delivered without anger, without boast. In that moment, the galaxy remembered why humans were never just another species. Because deep down, they were the apex predators every other apex feared. Silence devoured the council chamber after the human's final word. For a heartbeat, no one moved. No one breathed. Then the Vakor chieftain lurched to his clawed feet, armored scales clattering like chainmail. Bluff! You dare rattle your primitive toys at the council? We have fleets! The tallest human, Cormac, turned his head slightly. One subtle nod. Somewhere in high orbit, hidden engines roared awake without heat signature. On the chamber's holotable, a projection flickered to life. Security feeds, pirate beacons, syndicate docks, each location marked in cold blue. The chieftain leaned closer, scowling at what he thought was a threat map. Then the markers turned red. Then the feeds turned to fire. Across 3 star systems, hidden human strike drones decloaked and unleashed kinetic rods. Tungsten rained from vacuum, no warning, no shields to catch it. Pirate flotillas evaporated into debris clouds. A slave bazaar on Silent 5 vanished under a surgical antimatter burst. Every strike precise, terrifyingly clean, and so fast the Council's own battlecruisers barely powered shields in time to do nothing at all. The chamber echoed with horrified gasps. Some delegates stumbled back, their multi-eyed security guards drawing ceremonial blades they knew were useless. The small human, Darius, Earth's so-called negotiator, turned his calm gaze on the Vakor chieftain, who stood frozen, halfway, to a threat. Sit down, and the apex predator obeyed. He sank back into his marble throne, rage seething behind slitted pupils, but no claws lifted. On the far end, High Speaker Lurin clutched the edge of her pedestal, throat sacs pulsing with fear and something else, a twisted relief. She whispered into her calm. Her voice piped to every system official, every fleet admiral, every corrupt guild master now staring at burning screens in disbelief. Humans are enforcing council law? Cormac's jaw flexed, but his tone was steel wrapped in silk. Earth does not want a council. Earth wants a stable frontier. No pirates, no slavery, no feudal tribute fleets raiding refugee worlds. You failed. So now your law is ours, until you learn how to keep it yourselves again. A wave of murmurs rolled through the hall, disbelief turning to a reluctant, terrified acceptance. Some were already calculating how to profit under this new order. Others glanced at their security comms, wondering if human drones still circled overhead. Among the aliens, only a few dared study the three humans with something more than fear. A flicker of respect, because beneath the polite suits, Earth's envoys radiated something everyone had forgotten they carried in their blood, the wolf's promise that the pack protects its own and hunts without mercy. When provoked. For the first time in generations, the Galactic Council found itself irrelevant. Because Earth didn't send diplomats. It sent predators in suits, and predators don't ask for permission. Outside the Council's grand chamber, the once bustling hallways lay silent except for the distant rumble of troop carriers landing in neat rows. Human Marines, in matte black exosuits with no insignia except a single crimson stripe across the visor, fanned out without a word. They did not threaten. They simply were. Inside, the three humans stood beneath the ancient star dome, now flickering under the strain of too many panicked data streams. Darius checked a wrist display, its surface alive with orbital strike telemetry. Everything burned where it needed to burn. Nowhere else. Cormac lifted his eyes to High Speaker Lurin, who seemed to have aged a century in an hour. Her once proud fins drooped in resignation as she finally spoke the words every world had feared to utter. We acknowledge Earth's stewardship, provisional governance, until the Council can rebuild its authority. Cormac's voice was soft, but each word fell like iron. It will not rebuild the same. This time there will be laws worth enforcing, and species who prey on the helpless will find no safe ports. Ever again. A cluster of lesser envoys huddled at the edges of the chamber. Some whispered about rebellion, sabotage, counterstrikes, old habits refusing to die. The silver-haired woman, Ada, caught their glances. She didn't speak. She just looked at them the way a wolf looks at an injured deer, deciding if it can flee. One by one, eyes dropped to the polished floor. No one moved. No one dared. Through the vaulted windows, the orbiting human dreadnoughts drifted into visible range. Dagger-shaped titans whose armor bore no house colors. No royal seals. Just the stark white flag of Earth's united fleet. A promise. And a threat carved in hull plating and nuclear engines. Below them, new broadcasts flickered through trade relays. Pirate enclaves dissolving, slave auctions turned to smoking glass, entire war fleets abandoning mercenary contracts and fleeing to deep space where human drones now patrolled like sharks in dark water. At the heart of it all, three humans in well-cut suits stood where no ambassador had ever stood, as final arbiters of what the galaxy could or could not do. When the last signatures were etched onto the digital treaty of compliance, Ada leaned close to Darius, and murmured so softly, only he heard. You think they'll ever forget this day? Darius allowed himself the faintest ghost of a grin. They'll teach it to hatchlings, who don't even know what a pirate is anymore. The day the apex predators walk back into the herd, wearing suits. Cormac turned, his long shadow cutting across the chamber floor like a blade. He gave the council one last look, then tapped his comm. Deploy relief ships, food for the blockaded moons, medicine for the plague belts, and warn the criminals, Earth is home again. Outside, the human fleet realigned, not for conquest, but for order. Across the stars, 1,000 hidden tyrants and black market kings saw the news and knew their days were numbered. And somewhere, back on the blue world that bred wolves, who learned to speak softly, families looked up at the night sky and smiled, knowing their children could reach for the stars without fear. Stars